In his two-day visit to Syria on September 3rd, French President Nicolas Sarkozy sent a warning to Tehran. Should it continue its controversial nuclear program, it risks an Israeli strike. But just how feasible is it to strike Iran's nuclear facilities? The president of the Institute for Science and International Security in Washington, David Albright, says at this stage it probably would not cause much radiation damage.
Radiotoxicity of uranium is much, much less, 100,000 times less than plutonium. If you release this material, it probably won't cause much harm.
Albright, however, does not see military strikes as effective in setting back Iran's enrichment capabilities.
Iran has a lot of capability to hide things. That you've got to attack much more, and it's not likely that we know where to attack. And in fact, I always interpreted Admiral Fallon's comment, and I think he made it publicly, I hope he did, but he said that you'd have to attack all of Iran if you wanted to really set back Iran's nuclear program. And I think I would certainly agree with that.
But any strike, he cautions, could backfire.
If they're attacked, then I think inspectors are kicked out. They'll probably say we will stick with the NPT. They probably will not admit or say that we're going to go for nuclear weapons. They'll probably still try to use the cover of the NPT, but they could very well accelerate their program.
That program has been monitored since 2003 by the UN nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. But in its latest report in May, the agency said it was dissatisfied with Tehran due to its lack of cooperation on weaponization issues. As it continues to demand more access to resolve this issue, its Director General, Mohammad al-Baradei, agrees a military strike, quote, will quickly lead Iran to a situation to build nuclear weapons, and this line of action will receive the support of all the Iranians, even those opposed to the regime and those living abroad. El-Baradei is for negotiations with Tehran, but recently negotiations regressed when Iran rejected the incentives package to halt its enrichment activities. Pressures are mounting on Iran with 3 rounds of UN Security Council sanctions and perhaps more to follow. Another pressure was Israel's Air Force exercise operations, interpreted by many countries and the media as a threat to Iran. But President Shimon Peres is advising his Prime Minister Ehud Olmert against such an attack, which he says can trigger, quote, a bigger war. Instead, he advocates harsh economic sanctions. In the meantime, the U.S. continues to exercise its policy of all options on the table, opting so far to settle this conflict diplomatically. And Syria announced during Sarkozy's visit it would take part in resolving this discord before it escalates into another war in the Middle East.